When people are faced with a situation they don't understand, it's easy for fear to take hold. Hello everyone, Connor here, and welcome to the new series where I'm going to talk about anime characters with big brains and A1 strategy. Today I would like to talk to you guys about Armin Arlert and how he went from the once scared little kid he was to the demon strategist of the Scout Regiment, using his, dare I say, colossal-sized brain. I would like to start off with a little bit of a background into Armin for those of you who aren't super familiar with the series or need a little bit of a refresher since Season 3 ended. Prior to the fall of Walmaria, Armin lived with his parents in Shiganshina. His parents, who knew that there had to be more outside of the walls, tried to flee with their creation of a hot air balloon. They unfortunately were discovered by the military police and executed for trying to leave the walls. After Armin's parents were executed, he ended up living with his grandfather, and this is where his passion for discovering the outside world really blossomed. His grandfather owned a secret book which possessed secrets of the world outside of the wall. It contained rumors of fiery lakes, snow fields of sand, and bodies of water that are not fresh. They are in fact salt water. Armin inherited this book from his grandfather, and it instilled the passion that his parents seemingly had. Around 9 years old, Armin showed this book to Eren, and the two in fact made a pact, a secret oath, that they would go and see these seas and these vast bodies of salt water themselves one day. A passion that would in fact stick with them for the entirety of the series. This is when Armin and Eren's relationship began to evolve. As a young child, Armin was often beat up and harassed by the bigger kids. Mikasa and Eren could come in and always protect Armin, because Armin lacked physical strength. He made up for that with intellectual knowledge and prowess. It would remain this way until they all eventually joined the Scout Regiment. Once in the Scout Regiment, this is when Armin realized that his intellectual prowess would actually be far superior than the average physical strength of a soldier. I'd say the first example that we see of how intellectually powerful Armin is when he realizes the advantages of Eren's Titan power. Albeit Armin is friends with Eren, so he didn't want anything to happen to him, he still saw the benefits that the Titan power could give to humanity. In this situation, Armin demonstrated to be able to critically think without being clouded by fear and the unknown. He demonstrated stronger intellectual ability over captains even like Kitz Wellerman of the Garrison Regiment. Kitz was ready to destroy Eren. He had all the cannons, all the guns, all the garrison aimed at him, ready to go at any second. Armin was the only reason that he wasn't killed right away. He tried desperately to explain in the heat of the moment, not having any time to really strategize what he's talking about. He gave a defensive argument about how Eren could be used to plug the holes in the walls, and realized that Kitz wasn't even thinking. He didn't want to hear anything. He was so scared that he just wanted to eliminate this potential threat. I think at this point, Eren and Mikasa start seeing how beneficial Armin can be to the survival of humanity. But it isn't until the female Titan arc where Armin finally starts to realize for himself. In the female arc though, maybe Armin really isn't that smart, because come on, does it not look like Annie? On a real note, the female Titan arc is where Armin's power is truly developed into an asset for the survival of humanity. Armin quickly deducts that the female Titan isn't just the usual abnormal. He realizes that it in fact is another human-clad Titan shifter. The female Titan is most likely looking for Eren and is either a member of or has a mole in the Scouts. Armin realizes Erwin's plan before anybody else does. Erwin had told each individual a different story of where Eren is located, so that way he would know that if the female Titan comes from a certain area, that the mole might be somebody that has the information that Eren would have been in said area. At this point, Armin knows that the female Titan is after Eren, so he uses this to his advantage. He throws out Eren's name, but he does this with his own flair that only the 104th Scout Corps cadet group would know. Suicidal Maniac. After yelling out this name, this female Titan stops dead in her tracks, not attacking them anymore, not interested at all, and starts running in the direction that Armin said Eren was in. This just further supports Armin's claim that the female Titan is not only in the Scout Corps, but also in the 104th Cadet Group. Later, when they get back to the wall, Armin suspects that Annie is in fact the female Titan. Not only based off, again, looks alone, which, I mean, come on. Armin realized earlier that Annie actually had Marco's ODM gear. He recognized this because he helped Marco service them, so he remembered all the scratches and bumps and scrapes on them. In order to test this theory, Armin, Mikasa, and Eren try to lure Annie into an underground tunnel. Annie, realizing that maybe she could beat Eren and even Armin at the same time, she had no chance in hell at beating my girl Mikasa. Oh, Mikasa, Mikasa. This is when she refuses to go into the tunnel, only further supporting Armin's theory. And at this point, Armin drops the nutshell of suspicion that he has on that little biatch. After all this happens, Annie finally confesses and tries to go on a rage, escaping as the Titan so she doesn't lose her power and give it up to the humans. After all the Annie stuff goes down and she's finally captured, Armin realizes just how significant his intellectual powers can be to saving humanity. No one else besides maybe Pisces or Erwin himself have comparable intellectual analysis and strategizing. The next stage of evolution in Armin comes in season 2, when he realizes that those who aren't willing to risk everything will never change anything. And this switch happens for Armin when they're trying to save Eren from Reiner and Bertholdt at the end of the season. Prior to this last rescue mission, Armin still had inside of him the instilled feeling of kindness and hope that he could reach the good inside of people. The moment when he's trying to save Eren, he realizes that if they don't do something quick, they're gonna escape with Eren unscathed. This is when Armin goes like total psychological warfare on Bertholdt. He realizes that Bertholdt loves Annie. He has this deep crush on Annie. Armin is willing to sacrifice in this moment his morality to save Eren. He starts looking Bertholdt right in the eyes and tells him how much they are torturing Annie and how he can't bear to hear her screams any longer and that they need to come back to the capital and save her from the deep underground prison that she's locked in. This unshackles the instability in Bertholdt's mind. He and Reiner himself have both been with the Cadet Corps for so long now that they feel like they are part of the soldiers, and it's hard for them to distinguish who they are at some times in the story. After they finally peel Eren away and get him to safety, Armin starts to reflect on himself, realizing that he gave up his humanity. He gave up his morality to rise above the monsters that they have to face. The final barrier that Armin has to cross is realizing that they in fact aren't just fighting Titans anymore. They are fighting humans too, and they don't know who in fact could be a Titan changer. This happens in season 3. The barrier is finally crossed when Armin has to shoot one of Kenny's men who are about to kill John. He shoots this human and initially feels horrible about it, as the person that was about to shoot John hesitated. That means that they had not crossed off their morality. Whereas Armin, he pulled the trigger. His humanity is gone. He has risen as a demon, risen as this devil, in order to save humanity and lead the Scout Corps into the future. This is when we finally get to see Armin strategizing on his own, when he joins the Levi squad and goes off into the Rice territory to save Eren. Seeing these new anti-personnel ODM gear, Armin realizes one fatal flaw. Wherever the anti-personnel ODM gear points to lock on their grappling hook, they can't shoot any other direction, as the grappling hook shoots right out from under the gun. Armin realizes that their weak spot that is completely untouchable by them is directly behind the anti-personnel soldier. Despite this, the biggest downfall of the anti-personnel ODM gear is the fact that once they fire 2 shots, if they miss, it takes a long time to reload. So this is where the swords have a bigger upper hand. In the end, they use Armin's strategy and defeat Kenny's squad, ultimately saving Eren. And finally, we get to the point in the end of season 3 where even Commander Erwin himself recognizes Armin's A1 brain. Commander Erwin is at a stalemate here. He doesn't know where the Titans are hiding, and he kind of at this point lets Armin take over in discovering their hiding spots. This is when Armin, before anybody realizes that the only way that the Colossal Titan could appear and disappear so quickly without anybody noticing is if they could actually hide in the wall themselves. From this, they discover that Reiner is actually hiding in the wall, waiting for them. He comes out of the wall and transforms into the Armored Titan. They see the Beast Titan and all of his other minion Titans pop out of nowhere, and they are surrounded inside of Shiganshina. Not knowing what to do, Erwin gives command of Levi's squad, minus Levi himself, to Armin and Hanji. Then Erwin takes the remaining of the scout regiment outside of the wall to try to confront the Beast Titan. Eren and the scouts using the Thunder Spears take down the Armored Titan fairly easily, actually, but they still don't at this moment know where Bertolt is in the Colossal Titan Changer. Once taking down Reiner, he lets out a scream in a last-ditch effort to save himself. After Reiner lets out the scream, they see a barrel hurtled over the wall, flying over Shiganshina. Armin remembers this all too familiar, as last time they almost defeated Reiner, something similar happened, where Bertolt was on top of the wall and tipped over his body, exploding on the ground, destroying almost all the scouts that are there and capturing Eren in the moment. Bertolt explodes out of the barrel, but realizing that Reiner is underneath him, doesn't transform yet. Instead, comes down to Reiner, telling him to lay on his back as to protect him from the explosion when he comes into the Colossal Titan. Armin's still thinking that he could maybe get inside Bertolt's head, calls him over so they could have one final moment of negotiation, since they haven't had a chance to actually talk it out yet. Quickly into this conversation though, they realize that Bertolt is almost like a completely new person. He doesn't have any of the old fears or insecurities that he once did. It's almost as if he has accepted that this fight only has two outcomes. He lives or he dies. After this conversation, Bertolt flees with his ODM gear and flies up into the air, transforming into his Colossal Titan with the loudest explosion that we've seen thus far in the series. Unfortunately, Hanji and the other scouts are too close to this explosion and get caught up in the mix. Feeling defeated that his negotiations didn't work very well, Armin has a lapse in judgment and feels like he can no longer make a decision, relinquishing his duty to John. John assumes command, knowing that he is alright with making short-term decisions to keep the group alive in the meanwhile, but he is not okay with strategizing the end goal and how to come out with the victory. He will need Armin for that. Through Armin's lapse in confidence, they almost lose Eren, as Jean commands him to grab onto Berthold's leg and not allow him to move forward any farther. Berthold swings his leg, sending Eren flying almost over the wall itself. Thankfully, he hits the top of it, because if he did fly over it, he would have landed right in front of the Beast Titan and the game would have been over. After this is when Armin finally snaps back to reality and realizes something big. Looking up at Bertolt and the Colossal Titan, he realizes that it is 10 times skinnier than it used to be. He remembers what Hanji said in the first time they faced him, that they would beat the Colossal Titan in a battle of attrition. Armin comes up with the genius idea that if they can make him continue to produce steam, everything will disintegrate except for the bones itself. Armin makes the toughest decision of all, the decision that his life is worth less than the survival of humanity. His dream is worth less than the survival of humanity. He comes up with a plan where Eren pretends to fall off the wall, landing in front of the broken gate and sealing it with his hardened ability, all while the steam is blocking Bertolt's vision, so he can't actually see what Eren is doing. Armin shoots his grappling hook of the ODM gear into Bertolt's tooth, where the tooth won't decay no matter how much steam is produced. Armin gets close enough where Bertolt tries to just disintegrate Armin as quickly as he can, realizing that Armin isn't going to let go himself. Bertolt just keeps producing hotter and hotter steam, disintegrating his skin and body and flesh more and more until Armin is nothing but a burnt piece of ash. After Armin finally gets blown away and the steam finally clears up, Bertolt looks down to realize that Eren is gone. Before he can do anything, Eren is on Bertholdt's nape, slicing him open, removing his limbs and pulling him from the Colossal Titan's body. They did defeat Bertholdt and the Colossal Titan, but at what cost? The cost of Armin's life? The cost of the potential Scout Regiment as a whole? The cost of potentially the next commander of the Scout Regiment in Armin? Now, if you ask me, I think throughout this series thus far, Armin has displayed his A1 brains numerous times, with enough to consider him at least one of the smartest, if not the smartest, in Attack on Titan as a series in the whole, or maybe even one of the smartest in anime at all. Well guys, that's it for my Armin video today. Stay tuned because next we're going to dissect Erwin himself, the demon of the Scout Corps. And then eventually I'm going to do a comparison video to see who they should have given the Colossal Titan power to and revived. Erwin or Armin? You tell me what you think in the comments below.